All right, everybody. It's Brian, the Music Man, back again for the third installment, and just a little bit of headway here. Um, One of the things that I noticed, if going into the MIDI menu, okay, up here, um, before one was had a plus on it, and all the other ones were turned off, because it had the minus sign. Now these here we don't want to have on at all. So we're going to turn those off. But I'm going to show you how to do that. How to turn these on or off is actually very simple. Channel on, you click here, and then you click on or enter in the channel. Well, actually, the part is off, so that shouldn't really matter. So we don't have to worry about that. So, but if if you wanted to take and turn 6 off, enter 6, boom. Well, it was supposed to. Let's see, channel on, channel off, 6. Well, there we go. You got the minus on the 6, so we want to turn that back on. So for 6. So I just wanted to go back and show you about that there. Now that we have the channels set up, we've got these parts here turned off. We don't have to worry about the channels here, because channel 1 obviously we have already on, so that's not an issue at all, but these other parts are off. So like I was saying, we have 8 parts on this particular score. 2 here, 3 here, which makes 5, and 3 more, which makes 8. So a total of 8. And we've got those parts turned on. The other parts are turned off. They're not existent, but they're turned off. And we have each part assigned to a specific MIDI channel. By doing that, like I said, it allows for greater flexibility, because sometimes when you have a score that has multiple I'm going to try to say the multiple, come on, there we go, the multiple bars here, and like I said, we had split these apart into each individual channel. You can actually take and say this first part here as violin, the other one a bass, or what have you, in that, like I had discussed before. So anyway, we now have all the parts activated and the channels initially set, so we're good there. Let's save this setup here, and as you can see, I figured out how everything goes through here. It actually had a couple extra notes that went into the first bar, and then the rest of then the other measure. It's just the way that they had set up the notation here. It's a little bit odd. This bar really should have been here in reality in that, but that's just just sometimes they can get away with that just for the way that they design it. So anyway, so we have that, and a couple things that you notice that we don't have any instruments, no tempo, nothing set up for voice information. Well, you can see that I just selected the up arrow. Well, by selecting here on any of the notes, now with the volume, I can actually, or instrument, or MIDI channel hop, or an event, in that, those are all for the parts. Then you have general expression, tempo change, where I can take set the tempo to one thing, and general means it affects all of the parts. The part itself, each of these only goes and applies to the part that you're clicking on here. So since I clicked here, in instrument, I'm going to select the flute, and boom. On this first part here, we got the flute, and there was the higher set flute, and that, so that it actually goes through. And you might have heard that little bit of sound coming through, and that was the high flute. If I wanted to change that to, oh, not, I don't want that. Come on. I don't. It's putting the box up there. I don't want the tools up there. So anyway, instrument. If we went and selected the regular flute, now we went here, and if we played that again, you can hear what the difference is, and you heard the beginning of the melody of this particular piece. So we've set the instrument for that particular channel, and you can you can go and do it for the other notes in that, flute, violin, cello, or however you want to set it up. Because sometimes mixing up the instruments with something else can actually lead to really interesting results in that. There's been many artists that were trying to make a super bad, nasty, beaten song that with a faster tempo, nice fat sounds and all that, and they've accidentally set the tempo to 120 beats, let's say, and they're just bapping it out, because maybe something disco or something like that, who knows what, but then all of a sudden they accidentally, instead of going 120, they went, for some reason they entered in half that, say 60, and it's slower, and all of a sudden the whole beat and the flavor of the song changed, and it actually sounded more like a ballad or something a little bit more interesting, and they just switched up their song and changed it up to be something a little bit slower, and that, or with a more interesting beat structure, and voila, they've got a hit. There's been several artists that have done that. I know Michael Jackson's done it, and other artists have done that. So it can be pretty interesting. Anyway, like I was saying, so that's how you set, for the instrument. Now, going back down here to the tools. I don't know how in the heck the tools got up there, but it did. But we're going to select this here, and we're going to select here, and we're going to set the volume. This is the starting volume, and we're going to say give it an MP in that, and for starting. Now, another interesting little tool that you can do, if you take a look, let's see, it's not really showing anything on here, but there is a way where you can increase and decrease the volume. If I took here and starting from MP, it's called crescendo and diminish. And what is it's just the later the lesser than and greater than signs. So you can set up, so since it's always from left to right, it's kind of misleading. It says like the less than sign actually means going from smaller to larger volume. So by doing the less than sign here, you can say you want to go to, say, from MP. Well, I'm going to change that to number 1, PP, where it's a lot softer, and then bring it up to, let's say, 5. Now it's over how many beats. That means, in the measures, how many beats do you want the volume to take to reach the maximum volume? Well, let's just for grins, let's just go 3 beats. And that so it'll ramp up pretty quickly. And let's just go back here, and like I said, I was going to change the volume to 1, so it's softer. So if we were to play this, you notice here it goes from PP up to F for the volume change within 3 beats. It's going to crescendo or go louder, or louder, that is. So if we played it, you notice how it started to gradually get a little bit more volume. And that, so let's just change that to 7, loudest, over 2 beats, so that you can actually hear the difference of more so. And you heard that, you know, that had the change in volume. And so the flute is not always the easiest to distinguish a volume, at least in the case of for my particular unit. But other instruments you can actually tell with strings, piano, and that. And one of the nice things about the effects of this, you can do that not only with volume, but you can also do that with the tempo. You can actually change, add a tempo change in that. But this, unfortunately, only goes for the general expression, which means that all the notes will do that, which in theory is actually proper, so that all the timing stays in. There are a couple nasty pieces out there where some pieces actually change, or start changing their tempo at a different rate. Some orchestral pieces, in that to create an odd or a more unique effect, to really bring the flavor and the music more to life in that. And Bill Pierce, if you watch this video, check into that. See if you can have 2 different versions of tempo change, one at part level, and then of course leave the regular one for tempo change as a general level in that. So anyway, I just wanted to point out just a few small things here, and so that I had done. I actually have not done a lot of UltiMuse work for quite a while in that, so I'm getting back into it. But anyway, I'm going to come back with number 4 video. Of course, much further along. I just wanted to kind of show you a couple things in that. So it's a good idea just to get things set up. So by setting up your instruments and all of that ahead of time, so that you can get this. So like go in here. So, come on. There we go. Let's go with an instrument. There's no actual instrument there. And there is a way that you can switch things up. Let's just for grins, I'll just bring, let's see, that was violin, grand piano. We'll just bring that in just for grins here. So we added an instrument here for on the second part. Going down and setting up at least the active instruments for on the active parts. So like for the violin, looking at the score, I would probably use the middle and the top. The middle and the top? No, the middle and the bottom down here for that, and leave this one here. I think there might be a way to block out some of these rests here. One of the ways, if you went to the rest and you went with a a hole rest, you can just click there, and then it just gets rid of all those other rests and all that. It cleans things up. And I think there might also be a way of removing it. You can go into the layout if you wanted to. If I press L, go into the layout, I can take and say, oh, I really don't want this part. I can actually remove that part in that. Or let's say that I want a particular part to be an octave lower. I can set that, or an octave higher automatically instead of having to have an instrument. So it'll be mapped in the same, but it'll actually play at a higher or lower octave. So you can set those sort of things up in that. There's a lot of things. I still have my old manual here that Mike Knutson had given me when I started getting into this. I think that's when it was. I think I started with version 6, and then he got this here. I think this is has some of the updates for version 8. Obviously, right now it's a higher version. So, anyway, without further ado, I'm going to get going, and I'm going to continue on and see what you can do and whatnot. Also, so take care, everybody, until number 5 comes out, and we'll see you then.